full-scale nuclear war happened on Earth, the effects would be immediate, devastating, and long-lasting. This is Earth after nuclear war. About 30% of the buildings on Earth could be completely destroyed. Another 45 to 60% would be heavily damaged or unusable. The remaining buildings would likely be occupied by human ghosts. Hospitals would be destroyed. No food supply, no electricity, no clean water. Radiation would spread, making some parts of Earth uninhabitable. Smoke would block sunlight. Day would feel like night for about 1 to 6 months. Sunlight could be reduced by 50 to 90% in many parts of the world. Global temperatures would drop. Crops would fail worldwide. Humanity would face hunger. With less food, less life, billions of people could starve. Only about 10% of humanity might remain within 8 years after a nuclear war. Nuclear war could possibly take humanity back to square one. Massive destruction, billions of lives lost, and hunger taking over the world. Can humanity return to a beautiful world like this again? Or will people lose interest in science and focus only on survival? Now, let's go back to the beginning. 2 to 6 countries could start having serious conflicts. They might try everything to solve their issues, but it keeps getting worse. Maybe they even know how to solve it, but pride as humans prevents them from doing the right thing at the right time. Eventually, it reaches a point where there is no other option left but to use nuclear weapons on each other. How nuclear war could start. Countries that could start it include the United States, Russia, and China. These three have the largest nuclear arsenals, so any war involving them would likely become global. At the first minutes to hours after the war, massive explosions would destroy entire cities instantly. People closer to the spot where the bomb detonates would not even feel any pain, no reaction. They are simply gone in a fraction of a second. They would be instantly vaporized. Temperatures at the blast center would be hotter than the surface of the sun. Millions of people would die within minutes. Shockwaves would flatten buildings and infrastructure. By now, some people in many countries would still be enjoying life, knowing what is happening in other countries, but not knowing what is coming. First hours, days, radiation fallout. After the explosions fade, a new danger begins, one you cannot see or smell. This is where it gets more scary. The clouds would be covered with radioactive dust and debris. As these clouds spread, they begin to fall back to Earth as deadly ash. Within hours, entire regions downwind of the blasts become contaminated. The ground, water, and air turn toxic. At this point, the safest place to be is in a bunker with stored food. But you would run out of food weeks later or months later. It would only be possible if you were one of the people who emptied the market the first day United States or Russia decided to test each other. First few hours. Anyone exposed to heavy fallout receives a massive dose of radiation. Symptoms begin quickly. Nausea, vomiting, dizziness. I would prefer to be in a horror movie than this. Within 24 to 48 hours, the body starts to shut down. Internal bleeding, skin burns without fire, immune system collapses. Days later, many victims die slowly as organs fail. Those who survive suffer long-term effects like cancer and severe weakness. The environment. Crops become poisoned. Rivers and water supplies turn unsafe. Entire zones become uninhabitable. Some areas remain deadly for days to weeks, others for years, depending on radiation levels. In the first few hours to days after a nuclear explosion, the world does not just deal with destruction. It enters a silent, invisible phase of suffering driven by radiation. Right after the blast, the air itself becomes dangerous. Massive amounts of radioactive particles are thrown high into the atmosphere. This toxic dust, known as fallout, slowly begins to drift back down to Earth. At first, it looks harmless, like ash or fine sand, but in reality, it carries deadly energy capable of destroying the human body from the inside. People caught in this fallout zone do not always realize what is happening immediately. Within hours, symptoms of acute radiation syndrome begin to appear. The first signs are often subtle: nausea, dizziness, and an overwhelming sense of fatigue. Many survivors think it is just shock or stress from the explosion. But then, the vomiting starts. It becomes uncontrollable. The body is reacting to massive internal damage. Radiation does not just burn the skin. It penetrates deep into tissues, attacking cells at the microscopic level. The most affected areas are those that divide quickly, like the stomach lining, bone marrow, and skin. The body, overwhelmed by damage, slowly begins to fail piece by piece. But radiation does not only affect people, it poisons the entire environment. As fallout continues to settle, it contaminates everything it touches. Water sources, rivers, lakes, and reservoirs become unsafe. Radioactive particles dissolve into the water, making it dangerous to drink. Even boiling the water will not remove the radiation. Survivors who drink from these sources unknowingly expose themselves to even more damage. Soil becomes toxic as well. Farms and open land absorb the radioactive material, making it impossible to safely grow crops. Plants that do grow carry contamination within them. Eating these crops introduces radiation directly into the body, adding to the internal exposure. Animals are not spared either. Livestock that graze on contaminated land or drink polluted water become carriers of radiation. Their meat and milk are no longer safe for consumption. Even wild animals, often seen as a last hope for food, can become a hidden source of poisoning. Meanwhile, the infrastructure needed to respond to this crisis is gone. Hospitals, if they still stand, are overwhelmed within hours. There are not enough doctors, not enough medicine, and no real way to treat severe radiation exposure on such a massive scale. Medical supplies run out quickly. Electricity is unreliable or completely gone. People are left to suffer without help. Families watch loved ones weaken day by day, unable to do anything to stop it. Communities begin to break down as fear spreads. Some try to flee the affected areas, but without clear information, they may be moving deeper into contaminated zones. Panic becomes widespread. The initial explosion may have killed millions instantly, but for many survivors, the real suffering is just beginning. Radiation continues to spread, contaminate, and destroy, turning entire regions into zones where survival becomes nearly impossible. And the most terrifying part is that this phase is only the beginning.